Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching your favorite TVP World program, Interview from Vilnius. Political repression in Belarus shows no signs of easing. Courts continue to hand down lengthy prison sentences in politically motivated cases, while reports of harsh detention conditions and new forms of persecution continue to emerge. What do these developments reveal about the current state of Lukashenko's regime, and what risks do they pose for both citizens of Belarus and foreign visitors? To discuss this, we are joined by Kanstantsin Staradubets, human rights defender at Center Viasna. Kanstantsin, glad to see you in our studio. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Hello, Evgeny.
Kanstantsin, well, firstly, what is the current situation with political prisoners in Belarus?
Well, it is still critical. The number of political prisoners remains more or less the same, which is emblematic, of course, since political prisoners is in the focus of everyone's attention. So everyone, the entire world, sees that the number of political prisoners does not decrease, which testifies to the trend of continued repression, which you just mentioned.
And what is that number?
It's around 850. Of which 115 women. And just to mention, which is very important, you mentioned the situation. The situation is difficult, to say the least, for all political prisoners. But there is a very specific group which is worth mentioning separately. People in especially vulnerable situations because of their age, health, detention conditions, and we have around 180 persons, only the names that we know, who require specific attention and who should be released today, because this is the question of life and death.
Do you see any signs that the authorities are changing their approach, or is repression continuing at roughly the same level?
Sorry, no good news so far. What we can see is the continuation of this very long trend of preserving the pressure at the same level or sometimes intensifying it. Just to mention a few things, a few developments of recent weeks worth mentioning are new pieces of legislation. They're not criminal, but yet people can be arrested, interrogated and fined, and even spend days in prison for, let me quote, propaganda of homosexual relationships, gender transition, childlessness and pedophilia. Unquote, all in one sentence. This is today's Belarus. This is no sign of easing any repression or liberalization. And one more, quote, unlawful representation of the Republic of Belarus at international events, unquote, which in reality means that me, a human rights defender, attending an international conference, speaking publicly, is a target of persecution. I have no right to speak on behalf of Belarus anywhere. Anymore. As
I've already said, so courts in Belarus continue to hand down harsh sentences in politically motivated cases. So prison terms of 20 years or more are being imposed not only on men, but also on women, pensioners and foreign nationals. So could you please shed more light on this trend?
This is about the intensifying of imposing this practice, imposing long, especially long terms. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's up to 20 years, which in Belarus prisons sometimes means the death sentence. You cannot survive 20 years. For crimes related to what the authorities view as espionage, treason, things related to
insulting president.
This is not something you will get 20 years for, but still, taken together, sometimes people get more than one criminal charge at a time, and taken together they can accumulate
up to 20
years. And especially, this is worth mentioning, a lot of people still being targeted and getting all those lengthy terms for their support for Ukraine.
What are the conditions like for these prisoners?
All political prisoners are faced with discrimination. They're treated absolutely horribly as compared to regular prisoners. This is very evident They are not allowed to see their lawyers, families. They are ill-treated, do not receive adequate nutrition, vitamins, healthcare, and so on. But all those groups that we just mentioned, when there is treason, so-called espionage or support for Ukraine are involved, this is even more discrimination, more ill-treatment. And people considering that they are going to spend, luckily not, but they're looking at 20 years sometimes. That means some nightmare, some horrible, unbearable conditions to live in for many years. We have cases with people who lose eyesight, for example, completely, and or people with disabilities without a limb, having to be in prison and do manual work along other prisoners, regular prisoners, or people who have other conditions like cancer, for example. They're not treated properly. A lot of things that would disqualify people from being in prison, because this is inhumane, this is not civilized.
And here I'd like to discuss a couple of stories. One particular story is the case of Vladimir Gundar, a man with the group 2 disability. So what is so specific about his story?
Well, apart from the very long sentence, again, 20 years that he got, and the 3 separate criminal cases and 3 trials that he went through, he has been subjected to this very particular inhumane treatment because he's separated from other prisoners as probably a dangerous one. But with his serious health issues, it is even more unbearable for him. He has hearing issues. He has only one leg. He has other issues that prevent him from living a normal life outside of prison, let alone inside prison. And that he simply does not receive any adequate medical attention while in prison.
Okay, another story is about a man who was sentenced to 5 years of the so-called home chemistry, a restricted freedom without being sent to jail, for donations to Buy Soul and Buy Culture foundations. So, for viewers unfamiliar with the term home chemistry, could you please explain what is this about?
Well, this is quite a popular type of punishment in today's Belarus, when people are not sent to prison, but they're confined to their homes instead. So this is a prison inside your apartment or house. You are sort of free to go,
but not really free.
Not really free. You can only go, in a nutshell, to work. You can go shopping, grocery shopping, go to pharmacists, or take your children to school, for example, but all other things are just out of the question.
And now, for our viewers, let's stress how big were those donations?
It varies. This varies a lot. Sometimes it's just $5 or $10 worth. Sometimes it's thousands of dollars.
That guy, as far as I remember, had 2 donations. One was like $10 and another one was €5, or vice versa. I don't really remember. But anyway, just to stress what kind of situation is Belarus in today. Again, another striking case concerns a Ukrainian citizen, which we already spoke about, and his life changed dramatically after the 24th of February 2022. So could you tell us more about his story?
Yeah, he lived what he thought was a normal life in Belarus. But after the onset of the full-scale invasion, he just couldn't be silent about what he saw. First, he was accused of insulting Lukashenko and spent several days in prison. But then he admitted to that, actually, that he just couldn't see Russian troops move through Belarus. He just couldn't bear seeing that. And he reported, sent pictures probably, of Russian tanks moving to an independent observing investigation initiative, Belarusian Hayun, as part of which I would remind there was a leak in their Telegram channel. Over 200 people have been convicted. So this guy is just one of them. He ended up in prison, and he saw...
And here's my next question. He ended up in prison, and what did he reveal about the conditions faced by, again, political prisoners?
Well, he actually had to witness all of the things that we just described, that the political prisoners in Belarus, all of them have to go through, but specifically, especially harsh conditions because of his relationships with Ukraine and because of his Ukrainian passport. Having a Ukrainian passport alone is enough to be tortured. And what he saw, he said that he witnessed torture, actually. People were beaten, he saw bruises, he saw people humiliated and harassed.
He somehow, as far as I remember, he somehow managed to, well, he was lucky enough to get not to be beaten in prison.
He was lucky himself, although he was threatened via his wife, because in children, it's something that leverage is often used by the KGB and other repressive authorities of Belarus to exert pressure on political prisoners while they're in detention.
Okay, in your opinion, what do all these cases reveal about Lukashenko's system?
It just goes to show that the system is not going to change, that their ultimate goal, besides preserving power, I mean, this is goal number one, but it's also to inflict maximum damage and suffering to all disloyal persons, to all critical voices, dissidents. Just to mention a few things, recently cultural initiatives came under attack. Businesses with the cultural Belarusian identity in their marketing policy have been banned and closed. This just goes to show that this is endless. This is not something that the Lukashenko regime is going to change.
What, in your opinion, keeps political prisoners and their families going under such circumstances?
We, my colleagues, we have asked ourselves this question many times. We asked our colleagues who were released, and it differs from person to person. Many mention support and solidarity, generally speaking, sometimes referring to different things, like support from family, support from colleagues, support from cellmates and fellow prisoners, which is very important, feeling this shoulder of the person next to you, because it is a nightmare to be alone in prison. So it is this camaraderie, what it is called, and feeling that you have friends and your souls, someone to support you next to you in these horrible conditions. This is precious.
Okay, and my last final question briefly. So, despite repeated warnings, some Lithuanian citizens still travel to Belarus. Would you advise against traveling there at the moment, even for tourism?
I'm not probably in the place to do that, but I would say yes. My advice, our advice is do not go. There is a risk.
There is always a risk.
There is always a risk. We have seen many Lithuanians and other foreign nationals traveling to Belarus end up in prison and used as hostages, as tokens, as a good bargaining chip.
Yeah, exactly.
We now have one more, actually, Lithuanian citizen in a prison in Belarus, and he will be traded for something in the long run. But before that, he will have to go through very hard times. And I just sorry for him, for his family. Do not risk that. It's a huge risk. It's not worth the goods or whatever you are going to buy in Belarus.
Konstantin, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's keep on going and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was Kanstantsin Staradubets, human rights defender at Center Viasna. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.